Well, howdy folks, it's Matthew, your friendly neighborhood technician here, making another video for you out of Boise, Idaho. And we are looking at this awesome Toyota Avalon. And so if you're ever just wondering where you find information on your car, you can go into the door here. And oftentimes you'll see it right here. So we are working on an 0905. So it's actually a 2006 Toyota Avalon with a 3.5 liter engine, and you can always look underneath the hood here and see. So it's got a 3.5 liter engine in it, and man, oh man, let me tell you, we have done a ton of work to this vehicle, a little bit more than what any one shop can necessarily handle. I don't know. Let me explain. So those of you that follow me and have watched me rise from the ground up here literally and come up and enjoy the blessing of this awesome shop, have watched me evolve as a business. And so there's something that I've learned here, and that's that there is such a thing as too much work all at one time. And as much as I want to make sure that every car comes in here and leaves out of here with no issues whatsoever, sometimes when you're dealing with multiple systems, I've learned it may be better to focus on one system at a time, so long as you flag the other system. You know, don't work on one system and fix that system and then let it go, and don't tell your customer that, oh, hey, this also needs to be repaired and that also needs to be repaired, and this is why. Because what will happen is they'll get down the road a couple weeks later or a month later, and then something else will break and they won't be prepared for it, and it'll just make you look bad. So I do think that when it comes to multiple jobs and fixing multiple things, it might be better just to do one thing at a time. Hey, let's fix this issue, drive it for a couple weeks, come back, address the other issues and whatnot. And so let's start with what we did with this Toyota Avalon. So this Toyota Avalon belongs to a very good family that I know. They're really good friends of mine, and they're really awesome people. So they came to me and said, hey, we're thinking about trading cars, selling cars to each other. You know, could you look them over? And in the beginning, I looked over this Avalon, and I had noticed things like it has somewhat of a high mileage. We're pushing close to 200,000 on it. But, you know, it had original ignition coils on it, and it had a lot of original parts and pieces on it. Bottom line is you could tell that it had never been properly maintained throughout its life. And so Toyota does have maintenance intervals and whatnot for their engines that keep you from having massive repair bills all at once and breaking down. And that's what makes Toyotas good cars, is so long as you service them and take care of them, they will truly last forever. So I did, you know, kind of tell them that, hey, there is some work that needs to be done here. It's going to be expensive. It's going to be a little long and drawn out, but what happens is, and as everybody knows, sometimes you get into this and you start removing things. You start removing valve covers. You start removing timing covers. You get down and, you know, you start removing brakes and everything, and you start finding out that system after system after system is beginning to fail. And, you know, you remove one thing and reveal something that's broken, only to remove that and reveal something else that is broken underneath there. So that has ultimately been the story of this Toyota and how it's played out. And it's just been, the time has absolutely eaten us alive. If you're into investing or anything like that, the investment on this is definitely a plus. The downside is the time. The time has just killed us. So we started with, you know, top end service, intake, coils, all of that in order to get back to the coils and spark plugs back there. The upper intake has to be removed and whatnot. And as we started getting deeper and deeper into this, we started realizing that power steering lines were leaking. There were oil leaks everywhere. The timing cover was leaking. The boots on the rack and pinion were completely blown. And so as you can see, we've installed a new rack and pinion. And so this is one of the ones where the subframe, so this is one of the ones where the subframe, which is from here to here, you know, all of this has to come down. And so you have to disconnect the suspension. And of course we got in here and started realizing that, you know, we have to take all of this apart anyways to get into certain other aspects of this job and whatnot. And so we might as well, you know, put new suspension and struts. And again, it has a somewhat high mileage. So control arms, as you can see, they're new. Control arms and the bushings and whatnot, those bushings in there that are new were just destroyed and rotten. Now, this engine mount, in order to get this control arm replaced right here, all right, this engine mount had to come out because Toyota loves putting bolts behind parts. And you can even see that right there. Look, right here you have an engine mount. Okay. Let's see, there's your engine mount. And then back behind there, look, there's bolts. Look at that. There's bolts. You won't get those bolts out unless you lift the engine up and remove this engine mount out. So in order to get this control arm bolt, here, I'm going to turn the camera here. You see my finger is. In order to get that bolt out and replace this control arm, which it needed to be done, you have to jack the engine up and remove the engine mount and all that other stuff. So if you're going to be working on your Toyota Avalon, if you're going to be doing a timing job or replacing a rack and pinion or that engine mount or anything like that, it absolutely pays to have an engine suspension bar where you can just place that from fender to fender and then hook a chain up and you can lift this engine up and maneuver it and all that other stuff. Now, in order to complete the jobs that needed to be done, valve covers, timing cover, water pump, timing chain, timing guides, I mean, you name it, we practically rebuilt this engine. We did have to suspend the engine and we had to remove all engine mounts. So you see that engine mount down there, and then of course you know that one on that side, and then this engine mount had to come out, and then that completely suspended the engine, and that allowed me to raise the engine up all the way up so then I could work on what you see down here. So then that's what allowed me to raise this engine up and get in here and work on the timing cover and the timing and all that. Maybe you can even see in there. Oh, let's see. I don't know. You might not be able, can't see in there too well. I was going to show you all my wonderful work. And so that's how this job played out. And it's just been a massive amount of work. So where are we at now? Well, compared to where we were at a week ago, we're practically finished with everything. And some of you may wonder, you know, how do you do a job like this where, if you haven't noticed, there's literally a bazillion different electrical connections, little bitty nuts and bolts. At one point, this whole shelf that you see here was completely piled up with parts and pieces and nuts and bolts, and right now this is the pile of little brackets and nuts and bolts that I have. And to some of you, you're going, oh my gosh, that's a lot. And to me, this has drastically gotten smaller and smaller and smaller day by day. So if you notice, we're not even looking at any big parts or anything. I have power steering lines that are brand spanking new. Of course, like I said, everything underneath the hood is literally pretty much been replaced. Power steering, timing, all that, suspension. So, power steering lines, and that's literally pretty much it. So here are some of the old lines, and I've washed a lot of this off so I could examine it and look at it and all that other stuff. So yeah, I'm down to just all the little stuff, but there's so much of it. And then there's so much involved with doing a job like this for somebody that it's impossible to remember everything. So I'm to the point of the job now to where I literally just sweep this engine back and forth, and I make sure that everything is absolutely been reconnected accordingly and properly. Everything has been torqued down, and like for example, if you look right here, I can already see something that needs to be addressed, and that's going to be this guy right here. And so he bolts right there, like so, and then there's another bracket that bolts on here. So one of those brackets that's over there, remember that little pile, is going to bolt on right here. So, and then I have a vacuum line here that's old and brittle, and so it's supposed to be rubber, but when rubber gets old, it turns into hard plastic and is brittle. So I need to address that, and I need to get that replaced. And then, you know, all my other little vacuum lines and whatnot, all that's pretty good. I still have this. So if you see, some of this stuff is still loose. And so I just got it set down in here so I can see where all my connections need to go. I need to make sure I've got all my connections good. If you look over there, you see that little clip there? You know, that's something that I need to address. That plug is for my throttle body. So I'm ready to install my throttle body here and get that installed. And then that will give him a home to go to. And then I have two more rubber lines down there that connect on the bottom. And so then that'll be a home. So that's literally what I do is, you know, I just sweep back and forth now at this point. And again, there's loose bolts, and I've left this loose. This has been installed, but it's been left loose so I can go back and torque everything and make everything happen. And so over the course of the next, I'm going to say, day or two, I don't know, we'll just continuously go back and forth, double checking, triple checking, quadruple checking all of our work. And as we do that, you will begin to see that this pile of bolts will dwindle down to literally nothing. And there will be no such thing as I have leftover bolts. Of course, we've also had to go out and buy a few special little items here. Some of these cone filters had to come direct from Toyota, and that's taken some time to get some of this little stuff and whatnot. But yeah, so I'm super confident about the job, and I'm real excited. And those of you that have followed me on YouTube, you know that this is not my first rodeo. This is not the first time that I've taken on a massive job like this, and it just turned out to pay off for everybody in the end, because basically these people are getting a new car back. And for what the used car market is going for right now, you could not buy a car that would have these types of warranties. It's going to come with a new drivetrain warranty for the timing, steering and suspension warranty for the control arms, and the new rack and pinion and all of that and whatnot. And so you couldn't go out and buy something for under 10 grand that has all those warranties and everything up to date and running smooth and all that other stuff. So yeah, time has been a killer on this, but in the end, it will definitely pay off. So I'm excited to get this one finished. It's definitely been a monster. But there's some neat tips and tricks if you're going to work on your own Avalon. Go ahead and make sure you have an engine suspension bar. You're going to want a good jack and all that other stuff, and you can service this engine with it still basically in the engine compartment. You just got to suspend it and get it in a position where you can raise and lower it so you can work on it and do all that other stuff. So alrighty, folks. Well, hey, I appreciate everybody that supports me and my family and the shop and the YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching my videos. If you have any questions, shoot them to me in the comments. I've got a pretty good community going here, so there's a ton of other mechanics watching, checking things out. So if you notice that I'm not able to get to somebody's question, please guys step up and answer questions. Let's share the knowledge and all that other good stuff. This is Matt, your friendly neighborhood technician, signing off.